Hi everyone, welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm Rajni Bharara, your host. Now, before I move ahead, let me very quickly read out this very important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. All right. After this very important disclaimer, welcome back, everyone. I am Rajni Bharara, your host, and today we have an incredibly special guest joining us for the very first time. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, we appreciate your support as we continue to bring you expert insights and valuable discussions on immigration and employment. Our guest today is someone who brings a wealth of experience and a passion for achieving justice in immigration matters. Please join me in welcoming Steven Vosbikian, Esquire, a founding partner of Vosbikian and Vosbikian, a law firm exclusively dedicated to immigration law. Stephen has worked with clients from all over the globe, and his dynamic approach to complex immigration cases has earned him an outstanding reputation. Stephen is not just a legal expert. He is a skilled negotiator known for navigating the most challenging cases with charisma and determined, aggressive style. He specializes in everything from removal proceedings, asylum cases, and naturalization to criminal matters that intersect with immigration law. His track record speaks for itself, and we are thrilled to have him here today. Stephen's journey began at Rutgers State University, followed by Rutgers School of Law, Camden, where he not only excelled academically but also actively worked as a student attorney, assisting those most in need with their immigration issues. He even contributed to the Rutgers Journal of Law and Religion, where he focused on the tough realities faced by asylum seekers in the US. Today, Stephen is here to dive into a topic that affects so many. Can you sue the government for immigration delays? We'll be discussing the legal rights of individuals facing endless waiting times for their immigration applications and the intersection of politics and law in shaping these outcomes. So it's going to be a very insightful conversation. Now, without any further ado, let me give a very warm welcome to Stephen because this is going to be his first time. So, Stephen, welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm very, very humbled. Thank you for that introduction as well. I'm very humbled to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Firstly, it's an honor having you here on the show, and thank you so much for your enthusiasm. And like I said in the introduction, that you have a very aggressive style. I rather than aggressive, I would like to say passionate, maybe.
Definitely passionate. I work with my father. My father's been an immigration attorney for about 40 years, and he's
Wow.
very calm, has a very pleasant demeanor, and I'm the exact opposite. So when you call us, people usually ask for the father or the son. So I know I might sound mean and aggressive, but I love immigrants, and it's my passion to help immigrants. It really is.
Absolutely. And sometimes, I think aggression is the path we have to take, and especially in a field like immigration, because it requires a lot of passion, but it also requires aggression, right? Only then you will be also able to help people. But like you said, your father is an attorney and is in immigration law since 40 years. And you said you're completely opposite from your father. So can we not call it like father, like son, or like father, like son?
We're a lot alike. There's a lot of things that are alike, but when it comes to the aggressiveness, that's the one part where we go separate ways.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I think that then it balances out, right?
Definitely.
Great. Thank you so much again, Stephen, for being here. Now, before I actually talk about the topic and before I get into the questions, so, what can you say? I mean, what can people expect from today's episode?
A lot of people that come to our office are they come desperate with
Mhm.
no solution. So, and a lot of times as lawyers, we get to, a certain part where, you know, what can we do? And
Mhm.
for me, what I have found is that, filing a complaint in U.S. District Court and suing the government, which I know sounds very, very scary for some people, sometimes that really is the solution. So what to expect today is that people are going to learn about, how you can litigate an immigration case in federal court. That's what, they're here to learn about. And I'm excited, especially for the end. Anyone who has questions, I want to answer those questions because, yeah, as I said previous, people get desperate when when there's no movement on their case, or their case is outside of normal processing time, or the government's sitting on their case. And, I want to be able to help in that regard, answer their questions.
Wow, I mean, that sounds so good, and that's how it should be also, right? And thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for picking up such a great topic. This sounds a little controversial also, because today we are talking, because suing a person is can sound okay, but suing the government, oh my god, like, people, right? So, but is it really that easy, Stephen, to sue the government? Because government is someone I don't think anyone would like to deal with.
So we have a saying in our firm: nothing is easy.
Right.
Especially in immigration, they make everything really, really hard. I believe that the immigration service wants to make the end user believe that everything is easy. But if it was easy, we wouldn't have a job. But to answer your question, is it easy to sue the government? No, it's not. But you have to have some, you have to have courage to do it. I think the attorney and the client. A lot of times people are just at their wits' end and they say, I just don't care anymore. I don't care if I lose my case. I don't care if I win my case. I want an answer. But it can be done, and it should be done more often. It's an amazing tool.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. But okay. So what does this process actually look like? I mean, what legal avenues are available to hold the government accountable for delays?
Great question. So there's a lot of different entities to be sued, but let's take a naturalization application. Let's say that we have a client, very common case, where they file their application for naturalization, they get fingerprinted, they go to their interview, and no response for years. Sometimes it's years they don't get a response. You used to be able to make an InfoPass appointment at the local office. You can't do that anymore. We used to be able to call the officers. Can't do that anymore. Sometimes, we can email them. Sometimes they don't respond. So, what can you do? You can sue the government. You can file a complaint. So what it looks like is you hire an attorney, and the attorney files a complaint in the U.S. District Court. So if somebody lives in New Jersey, there's only one district court. The attorney would have to be barred in the district court, and they can file a complaint in the district court. Pennsylvania, as an example, has 3 different district courts. So depending on where you live, you would file your complaint in district court. And you would file a complaint for a mandamus, or sometimes it's a declaratory judgment. In naturalization cases, you can file a petition for a naturalization hearing. And the dynamics of the case are as follows. You said, what does it look like to file a lawsuit? You file the complaint, and the government has 60 days to respond. So now we're taking a client who's been waiting for years. We sue the entity. Let's say in this case it's the USCIS. They only have 60 days to respond. So either the case is going to get, adjudicated, there's going to be a decision that's issued, or the case is going to be litigated. 9 times out of 10, the case is not litigated. The USCIS will issue a decision, because in these lawsuits, we ask for attorney's fees. If our adversary loses the case, they'd have to pay attorney's fees. So that is the dynamic. It puts immense pressure on the USCIS or the U.S. Embassy, whoever we're suing, to resolve the case. So you have somebody who, like I said, can you sue the government for immigration delays? Absolutely. And it will result in your case being adjudicated in a very short time period.
Okay. Okay. So 60 days is the time they take to reply or maybe to answer back, right?
To answer back. They can get a 30-day extension, but
Uh-huh.
at the end of that 60 or 90 days,
Mm-hmm.
either the case is going to get dismissed because a decision has been issued,
Mm-hmm.
or the government is going to litigate the case, and they're going to say, a mandamus, as an example, is a
Right.
lawsuit for an unreasonable delay. The
Mm-hmm.
government might argue, well, it's not unreasonable. But a lot of times people come to us as the last straw. They've called USCIS, they've called the 1-800 number, they've written letters, they've gone to their congressman, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing happens. So, I don't know if you felt that pain, but there are people who are listening to this who feel
Uh-huh.
that pain and they don't know what to do. And a lot of times the mandamus is the way to go. A lawsuit in federal court is the way to go. I believe strongly.
Okay, but Stephen, if there's an option for people to sue the government, then why do you think there are these immigration delays?
If there's an option, say that question again.
Well, if people have the option of suing the government and getting back, to the government, if they have these options, then why do the government actually have the do this immigration delays? Why don't they simply answer? Because because they also have given this opportunity and this thing to the people where they can also sue the government, right?
It's a very good question. First of all, a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are
Mm,
scared to sue the government because they believe they come from other countries where they might believe, oh, the government is going to retaliate against me. In the United States, no one is above the
mhm,
law. So it's strictly business. Um,
mhm,
a lot of attorneys don't know how to sue the government or how to do it. This is
mhm,
something that, I developed actually through a client. I can't really take the credit. I pride myself in listening to my clients. I had a client who was stuck
mhm.
and he kept pushing and pushing and pushing me. When can we get a decision? When can we get a decision? Finally, I said, "Yo, pal, what do you want to do? You want to sue the government?" And he said, "Yeah, I want to sue the government." And we
Okay.
did it, and we did it, and his case turned out great. So, I mean, a lot of people get scared. They think that, the government is going to
Mhm,
retaliate. The other thing is, like I said, I'm not sure if you felt this pain, but online when you see your case and it will tell you we're going to adjudicate your case in 10 months. And
mhm.
you wait the 10 months, you get to 9 months and 28 days and it retrogresses. Now it's 15 months. Then you get to the 15th month, it retrogresses again, and it keeps going on and on and on with no end in sight.
Mhm.
So I always tell people, your lawyer, this is just my opinion. We're not here to write emails or make phone calls or go to the congressman. What does a lawyer do? They go to court, they file motions, they file lawsuits. So if someone's stuck, if their case is delayed or
Mhm.
they're having an issue, this is an avenue to make their case unstuck, to force or compel the government to
Mhm.
make a decision. And we can do this in many different ways. A naturalization case, a
Mhm.
green card case. Let's say that your case is stuck at the National Visa Center. We've sued the National Visa Center. Let's say your case is stuck at the U.S. Embassy.
Mhm.
We've sued the U.S. Embassy many, many times to compel the adjudication of a visa. So,
Mhm.
these are the types of scenarios where you can use this tool.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for answering the question, Stephen. Now, we have a lot of people who, who are posting their question who have joined us. So let me quickly say hi to all of them. Here is Mirli. I hope I'm taking your name right. If I'm not, I'm really sorry about that. And then Fawad is here. Hi, Fawad. Ritika is here. They've also posted their questions. Guys, we are definitely going to take your questions, but in a bit, let me quickly ask a few more questions to Stephen. So, Stephen, it also feels like, every day we hear about these huge backlogs in immigration cases, right? So, do you think, I mean, do judges have started feeling sympathetic towards people waiting in limbo?
I would like to say yes. I mean, of course, judges and people who work for the immigration, I'm sure they're
Mhm.
sympathetic, but there's just so many people.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to be sympathetic when there's so many people and everyone's asking you for help. Sometimes you get, immune to it.
Mhm.
But of course, I believe that judges and people who work for the embassy and people who work for the USCIS, I do believe that they're sympathetic, but the agency is so big, there's
Right.
not something that one person can do about it.
Mm.
But as my father always says, this is why we have lawyers. This is why you have lawyers. Our
Absolutely.
country was founded on lawyers. Our founding fathers were lawyers, and this
Mhm.
is why we're here.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And but Stephen, also with that, I would also like to know that I mean, are there any trends you must have noticed, or you might have noticed with the court speeding up or maybe slowing down these cases?
Um, Trends speeding. Well, I mean, we see different trends. For example,
Mhm.
in the beginning, when I used to file a lot of these cases, I didn't get any pushback from the U.S. attorney. We would
Mhm.
file the case, and the case would get resolved. And 9 times out of 10, the adjudication is positive. Now we're starting to see a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon, and a
Mhm.
lot of attorneys are realizing, hey, we can sue. There's money to be made, and we have seen the U.S. Attorney's Office kicking back and fighting on some of these cases. One such a case is a delay of the issuance of a visa. So if I petition my mother and father in a foreign country,
Mhm.
and they go for their interview, and it's taking a very, very long time after the interview, or to
Mhm.
schedule an interview, a lot of times we sue. A lot of times we're seeing the U.S. Attorney's Office buck back on us and making legal arguments that there isn't a delay, or so on and so forth. But that's one of the trends right now that we're seeing.
Okay, okay. So, talking about delays, so are there any specific types of immigration applications, that are most likely to face immigration delays? And also, after that, okay, let's take that
Yes,
first. Mhm.
I don't think it's a specific application. And you alluded to something earlier that I wanted to point out. A lot of times we don't know what's causing the delay.
Mm.
We're never told at the end, well, this is what was causing your delay. But we see people from certain countries. Okay, my
Mhm.
father and I worked together. And when we started, he got all the really easy cases, and I took all the really difficult cases. So there is no question that our clients from Iran or Afghanistan or Pakistan, um, that's where we see the delays. We don't see a delay with an individual from Ireland or England or
Mm.
Italy. We see the delays in specific countries. And, it's a shame. That's how it is. I'm assuming it's some kind of security check, but it's not a specific application. It's usually where the applicant is born.
Wow. Okay. So the country, it varies from country to country mostly.
I think so. I think so. It's usually some kind of security check or some kind of fraud check.
Mhm. Okay. So does it also depend upon the kind of experiences they must have had in the past because of that reason, or they just generalize?
It could depend on, if they're investigating somebody. Let's say
Mhm.
I always have the strong belief that if they're investigating an individual, and let's say they don't have a lot of derogatory information to deny that person's application, what's
Mhm.
the one thing that they have? They can just
Mm.
hold their case in abeyance. A
Right.
lot of times, if there's a marriage case and the marriage is questionable, the
Mhm.
USCIS will sit on the case and do nothing and let the marriage dissolve on its own. So then there will be no case. So
Wow.
a lot of times that's one way to fight these cases, just to just do nothing. But mostly we think that, I'm only speculating that, it's buying time to go through some kind of security check, so on and so forth, with a lot of these cases.
So, okay, apart from the country aspect, do you feel there are other common factors also causing these delays?
Um, I definitely have seen instances where a file gets lost. I mean, the USCIS, there's many different immigration agencies. There's USCIS, there's US Customs and Border Protection, there's the court, there's ICE. It's difficult even for them to communicate to each other. So let's say your case is getting remanded from immigration court to USCIS. Sometimes the file gets lost. And you make phone calls, nobody can find the file until you file a complaint in US District Court for a delay, a mandamus, and then voila, they find the file really fast once they get sued. So we've definitely seen that. We've definitely seen, bureaucracy. I mean, our government is not perfect. They can't run like a machine. They're humans like me and you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree. But okay. So let's say if a person decides to sue the government, so what are the chances of winning that lawsuit?
So that's a great question. So, and I want to explain for people listening, a mandamus or a declaratory judgment is not a vehicle by which you can expedite your case. If your case is outside of normal processing or there's a delay, then you can file the mandamus. Wait, I'm sorry, just repeat that question again because
So I said, let's suppose if a person decides to sue the government, so what percentage of the chances does the
oh,
person have
yes.
to win the lawsuit? Yeah.
Yes. So almost a very, very high percentage. So it depends on the circumstance. If you file a naturalization application and more than 120 days have elapsed, there's a 100%, if you file a complaint, that your application is going to get adjudicated, whether it's with USCIS or at the district court. If you file an I-130 or an I-45 and it's outside of normal processing time, it's delayed. You're going to get an adjudication. The only times that I see that cases don't get denied is when the government argues that there isn't a delay. So I'll give you an example. The example of I apply for my mother and father and they're interviewed at the U.S. Embassy abroad. The government's position on these types of cases is that 5 years, up to 5 years, is not an unreasonable delay. Obviously, we think anything 90 days past the interview would be an unreasonable delay. So some courts have litigated that issue. If you file a mandamus, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get an adjudication, but I would say 9 times out of 10, we wouldn't file a case if there wasn't a delay. You're going to get, with high degree of certainty, you're going to get an adjudication. That adjudication might not be positive. Maybe your case is going to get denied or it might get granted, but you're going to know. A lot of people can't sleep at night because they don't know what's going to happen with their life. They just want to get a decision from the immigration service. So, to answer your question, that's how I'd answer that question.
So the government can make a decision, and so that after their decision, they can make a decision for their life, right? Because ultimately, their life decision depends upon the government's decision.
Yes, it's easy for me to sit here. I'm born in the United States. I know what my fate is, but a lot of people, they wake up every day. They don't know what their fate is.
Exactly.
And I'm sympathetic to that. That must be hard, not knowing, what is my status going to be? Am I going to get a green card or is my case going to get denied?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But Stephen, but with all these, the lawsuits USCIS is facing over delays, do you think, more people will start running towards the court to move their case forward, or do you think it's just a sign that the system is completely overwhelmed?
I think that the system is overloaded. I really do. We want people to immigrate. Like I said, I want people to come into our country. But, we have all these people coming in, that's going to make it harder for the regular person to file a petition for their wife or their parent. Filing a case for your parent used to take a year, or for your spouse used to take a year or 10 months. Now it's taking a year and a half. Why is that? Because our system is overloaded with a lot of people who are, coming to the border who, frankly, I don't believe, we can help, which is unfortunate.
Right, right. But also with that, I would also like to know, Stephen, so what role do federal agencies like USCIS or ICE play in these delays? And how can their handling or mishandling of cases lead to potential lawsuits?
So that's a great question. USCIS, ICE, CBP, the Immigration Court, the U.S. Embassy, the Department of State, the National Visa Center, the role that they play is they're the defendant. So if you come to me and you say, my husband's not getting his green card, or my mom was interviewed at the U.S. Embassy and they're not giving her, her visa, we would sue that entity. So we would sue the Department of State. We would sue the U.S. Embassy. We would sue USCIS or the National Visa Center. That's the defendant in the case, which I know sounds scary, but I would tell people, don't be scared. Don't be scared. The government cannot retaliate against you. And that is the beauty of our country. And that's why the United States is the greatest country in the world. My belief.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. All with this, Stephen, we have heard a lot about USCIS still dealing with staffing shortages and COVID backlogs, even now, right? So there's been a lot of backlogs that they are dealing with. So do you think it's fair to blame these delays entirely on them, or does this feel like a situation where the government just needs to step up and maybe, we can give them more support?
Like I said, I think they need more people. Recently, I think probably because an election is coming up, a lot of these applications we're seeing unprecedented processing times. So a marriage case that used to take, a marriage adjustment case, which used to take a year or a year and a half, is now getting adjudicated in 6 months without an interview, which is unbelievable. Naturalization cases, you file the case, and in 3 months later, you got an interview. So I definitely think that the USCIS is trying to, work on these backlogs. But even with people who, their cases are going fast, there's always somebody. I always tell my clients, if they want to get you, they're going to get you.
Right.
So there's always people, notwithstanding the processing times, whose cases are delayed. It's just the nature of the beast. Nature of the beast.
Okay. Okay. Again, thank you so much for answering the question, Stephen. With this, I would like to come to my next question. So, but how do you respond to those people who argue that these delays are unfairly harming legal immigrants? And while, individuals are also waiting in line for visas and green cards, they are at a disadvantage.
I mean, I would agree with those people. Our government should work good. I mean, should work faster. It works great. I don't want to, put the United States down at all. But, there is a processing time. So you can't file a mandamus or a complaint in district court to expedite your case. There has to be rules. There has to be a waiting time. But when it goes outside of the scope, when it becomes unreasonable, for example, right now, the waiting time for a 601A waiver it's a crazy waiting time. It's unreasonable. It's unreasonable. And it gives people that uncertainty in their lives. So, for those people that have that uncertainty, I sympathize with them. For people who are impatient and who just want something right now, I want my green card. Well, I mean, we have to have a process. We have to have rules. We have to have a processing time. But when it gets to be exacerbating and gets to be unreasonable, that's when I, agree with my clients that something needs to be done.
Okay. Okay. So thank you so much again for taking that up and for answering the question. Stephen, there are a lot of people again commenting and posting their questions. I would quickly like to come to those people, and I would like to give, I was actually about to dive into some political questions, but I would like to give my questions a rest for a bit and maybe take the questions of the people, because I'm getting questions from Facebook and also from YouTube. So let me quickly take Abdul's question. So Abdul Hafiz, he has posted it on Facebook. He says, what are the grounds on which the suit will be argued? As you mentioned, that the system is overloaded and USCIS has a huge backlog as well. What is not happening on the USCIS side, which can be done to improve the efficiency of the system?
So I don't know if we can improve the efficiency. That's a good question, but the grounds are easy. There's the Mandamus Act, there's the Declaratory Judgment Act, and then there's the APA, the Administrative Procedures Act. So those are the grounds upon which that we would file a mandamus, or a complaint rather. And a lot of times, so the mandamus is for a delay. The Mandamus Act and the APA are for delays. The declaratory judgment is when, you believe that the Immigration Service, let's say, made a mistake and you want to declare this, that, and the third. So, the grounds upon which that you file, it's all spelled out. It's the Mandamus Act, the Declaratory Judgment Act, and you're filing a suit under the APA. So is that going to cure the backlog? No, it's the legal grounds upon which you can file your complaint. So you're like I said earlier, your case has to be delayed. You just can't file a lawsuit out of thin air because you believe X, Y, and Z. You have to demonstrate that your case falls, that it's an unreasonable delay. There has to be a legal ground to file.
Okay, but he also wants to know what is not happening on the USCIS side, which can be done to improve the efficiency of the system.
I guess that's something that we'd have to ask USCIS. I think that they're overloaded. They're working. I know that they're working really hard, and they got a tough job. They have this new computer system, which I think is very difficult to to work. Every time I'm at an interview, I see that the officers are, have trouble with the system. I believe it's called Ellis. But I think that the USCIS lately, they're definitely taking strides to improve their efficiency. But remember, when we talk about mandamus, we're talking about the USCIS, the National Visa Center, the Department of State, the U.S. Embassy. So it's kind of hard to answer that question because there's so many, different agencies.
But Stephen, can I call you a kind attorney? Because it very rarely happens that attorneys are so kind towards USCIS. And also, with having said that, I would also like to mention that you sue the government, and that after that you're also very kind towards them.
There's a lot of fine people that work at USCIS. And it's not up to them. It's not up to them. And I believe that, I think when we sue the USCIS, nobody takes it personal. They know that we're attorneys and that we're fighting for our clients and that we want to help immigrants and that it's strictly business. Nobody takes it personal. Nobody takes it personal. And I'm sure people on the USCIS wish they could go faster or wish they had more resources too.
Okay. So, like you said, they need more people, maybe, right?
Maybe they need more people. Yeah. I mean, we just have a lot of people filing a lot of different applications.
Right.
And the other thing we have is we have a lot of fraud. We have, I wanted to mention, fraud. We have a lot of people going to, people who are not attorneys, who got no business filing applications, giving people, wrong advice, and clogging up the system. And now the USCIS has to deal with that.
Right.
It's a lot. Asylum, there's so many cases for asylum that are filed that had never been filed in the first place.
Absolutely. And people from all over the world want to come to the US, work in the US, live in the US, and then and there can be a limited number of people working in the government also. So I'm sure the government also must be feeling overwhelmed a lot of times, right?
Of course, and especially when, I alluded earlier to people that we can't help,
Hmm.
as an example, and there's a lot of false information out there. My opinion, under the Biden administration, you know, it's like we had this call to bring all these people in, and you can't blame them. They're coming in, and the only option that they have for the most part is to file for asylum. And then Biden raises the bar and says, we're going to make the standard of asylum harder. So you tell people to come here, and then you've raised the bar for asylum. That's really not fair to the immigrants. It's not. It's not.
But
And
what do you have
I'm getting political. I don't want to get political. Well,
We understand. That's fine. That's fine. Also, Abdul, I hope you have got your answer. In case you have a follow up, please continue posting your questions. We'll be glad to take them. And there are more questions posted by the people, which we are going to take. But before I take that, Stephen, again, people are also, especially immigrants, are very scared after hearing speeches of Trump. Where he's mentioning that there is going to be mass deportation if he comes to the office, if he takes office. So, what do you have to say? Should people really be that scared, or should they be okay?
no, they should not be scared.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of misinformation out there for the
Hmm.
average person. For the average person, I
Hmm.
don't think it's going to matter who the president is. I really don't.
Okay.
I believe that when Trump says, you know, he wants to deport people, it's people who shouldn't be here, right? People with
Right.
criminal backgrounds. I always tell my clients, you have to understand there's a, and I didn't really see it until years into my practice. There's a dark side of immigration. Yes,
Hmm.
there's a lot of good people. There's a lot of people who are here working hard, but there's a lot of bad people too who have criminal
Absolutely.
convictions, who have serious criminal convictions, who have drug
Hmm.
convictions or, convictions involving children. You got to ask yourself, do you really want these people here? No. I mean, the children, no. Drugs you can make an argument for. But um anyway, I think when Trump says that, he wants to deport people, I think those are the people that he's referring to. And then, keep in mind, we have a lot of people who have been ordered removed and who just never left. So I ordered you removed, you're removed, but we never physically removed you from the United States.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely not.
I believe that's what he's referring to. And
Yeah. Hmm.
we were discussing, offline earlier, what's happening in Aurora, Colorado.
Right. Right.
There's we need to keep the good immigrants and we need to get the bad people out of our country. We can't have gangs taking over cities. You know,
Yeah.
people that's got to stop. That's got to
Yeah.
stop.
Absolutely. But then why do you think is the media projecting them and is making people, do you think that the media has a little part to play in this, projecting maybe scaring people or projecting
Of
a person
course.
in a bad light?
Of course, I think they want it just for, for ratings, but
Uh-huh.
there is so much misinformation out there. There is
Mhm.
just so much misinformation out there, which is why everyone should consult with an attorney. And sometimes attorneys give misinformation too. I don't know. I don't know all the answers, but we
Right.
have many clients who go to their attorney, and I can't tell you how many clients I've had who, were with an attorney, and the attorney ended up getting disbarred, and taking the client's money, so on and
Mhm.
so forth. But the key is getting the right information.
Absolutely. So how can one know that who's the right attorney for them?
I think that everyone should be vetting their attorney. A lot of times people come to me and say, well, who's your attorney?
Hmm.
Quick Google search, and he or she has been disbarred or lost their license, or has 15 negative reviews online. You
Yeah.
know who you're hiring before you hire them. And like I said before, nothing is easy. If the attorney is making it sound really easy, nothing is
That is
easy.
good. Uh-huh.
Nothing is easy. Or if the fee sounds too good to be true, you can't buy a Gucci bag or a Louis Vuitton bag for $100.
Absolutely.
You're not going to
That's a
get a
great
green card
example.
for it. You're not going to get a green card for $1,000. A lot of people
Mhm.
go to someone who they think is an attorney, and they're not an attorney.
Mm.
Make sure you're dealing with a licensed attorney who specializes in immigration and who has a track record. There are many, many fine attorneys. And in immigration law, there's so many great attorneys, and we're all friends, which is something
Mhm.
I love about the immigration bar. We call each other, we help each other because we all have one goal in mind. We want to help our clients, we want to help immigrants.
Right. Absolutely. And guys, if you want to get in touch with a real good attorney, here are his details. Steven Vosbikian. His phone number, you can give him a call at 856-755-1400. I would like to repeat it again for you. 856-755-1400. You can also email him at info@waslaw.com. You can also visit his website, which is www.waslaw.com. So do get in touch with him and do check out his website. And if you want to write an email to him, please go ahead and do that. Let me quickly take other questions also. So Ritika has also posted a question, Stephen. She says, my family members visa. Okay, I'm trying to show this. I don't know. Okay. My family member's visa application was denied due to administrative processing delays. What are my options for appeal or reapplication, and how can I ensure the process is expedited to minimize further delays?
Okay, so this is an amazing question, and this is something that I have filed a lawsuit many times. So
Okay.
so for those who don't know, I will explain the process. A lot of
Sure.
times, someone goes through all these steps. They file a petition with the USCIS.
Mhm.
Their case goes to the National Visa Center and then to an interview at the U.S. Embassy, wherever it is. And then the person is interviewed. Okay. And
Mhm.
sometimes the embassy will say, you're going to go into administrative processing. We need to conduct further research on your case, or you need to provide further documents. Now, the case is not denied. There is litigation. We're talking about cases that have been decided. When a case is put in administrative processing, there is not a final decision. So that's a legal sticking point that we argue. So the government is going to argue, hey, Steve, you made a visa application, it's denied, we gave you your decision. And we would be saying, no. You put our case in administrative processing and our case is suspended. We don't have a final decision. I think that most judges would agree that we don't have a final decision. So to answer your question on that one, you don't have a
Mhm.
final decision. The second issue, the second prong of that question is there an unreasonable delay? How long have you been waiting after the interview?
Mhm.
If you've been waiting a year or 2 years or 3 years, I think that your case is ripe to file a mandamus and to sue the U.S. Embassy abroad for unreasonable delay. There's
Mhm.
something called the concept of consular non-reviewability. So the government will also argue in this instance, hey, you can't review a decision. And we come back with, we're not asking you to review a decision, we're asking you to make a decision.
Mhm.
You put us in administrative processing and you suspended our application. You haven't told us yes or no ultimately. You've told us hold on.
Mhm.
So to answer that person's question, that is the exact scenario that we have had. Um, Many times we filed the mandamus and you know the visa is issued, or in a couple instances we had the visa denied. And in the instances where we've litigated the case, always right before the judge is going to make a decision, the visa is adjudicated. Oh, your visa's you know what? Your visa is, we got a decision on your case. Can you dismiss your lawsuit? No problem. We dismiss the lawsuit. Nobody has to pay attorney's fees. The case is done. The client's happy. But I've seen this in Pakistan, Armenia, Canada. We've sued Italy. We've sued many U.S. embassies all over the world. And that is a very, very common issue, administrative processing.
Okay. So, Ritika, I hope you have got your answer. Thank you so much for your question. And Steve, we also have got one question on WhatsApp from one of our viewer, and he wants to know that what are your thoughts about the USCIS Emma chat, which does not provide correct answers? What do you have to say about that?
It's funny that you say that. I did have one client who used the Emma chat successfully, but as I get older, especially my dad, and people don't want to use this chat. This is why I file the mandamus. I'm not here to use Emma chat, right? I don't, we can't make an info pass. Now you can make an info pass, but it's very difficult to make an info pass. The emailing doesn't work. The letters don't work. You go to your congressman, that doesn't work. You do Emma chat, doesn't work, doesn't answer your questions. What do? I end up filing a lawsuit because I know that it's going to work. And I know that I can pick up the phone with the U.S. attorney and say, this is my issue. My client's case is denied, or we filed, a green card renewal, an I-90, a year and a half ago. Where's the new green card? You get to speak with a live person. So that's one of the advantages of the lawsuit, is that you get to pick up the phone with the U.S. attorney.
So, do you think with the immigration delays, one can also sue the government that they are coming up with these things like Emma chat and all these emails which really don't work?
Well, no, you can't. I mean, that's not a legal basis to sue. I find it amusing, but if there is a legitimate delay in your case, and there's going to be attorneys who are going to disagree with me. They're going to say, no, you shouldn't sue the government. And, I really strongly disagree. I think that, if you want to get tough and you want results and you're not scared and you have nothing to be scared about, what do you have to lose if you sue the government? That's why we have the best country in the world, is because we can do stuff like this. You might not be able to do stuff like this in other countries. Nobody is above the law. The USCIS is not above the law. You can sue them. The embassy is not above the law. You can sue them.
Absolutely. That's what makes America the greatest, right?
The best country in the world.
The bestest country in the world, and Trump is saying, "Let's make America great again." So, what do you have to say about that? Do you think there's something? America, there's something that will make America great again. I mean, because now we are talking about these immigration delays. Do you think current administration is better or worse in addressing these delays? And who do you think, if Trump comes back, or maybe whoever comes to the office, or whoever comes, becomes the president, will make a difference in these delays?
I don't really think so, no. A lot of people, I talk to people all the time who get really scared. They think, oh my God, Trump's going to come in and change everything. I don't think it matters who the president is. Now, the president, the laws are there. The laws are already there. The Immigration and Nationality Act is already there. The president can issue an executive order. The executive order can be challenged, but I really think it's the administration. Is the administration going to be tough, or are they going to be easy? Right now, they're being real easy. You file a marriage case, and in 6 months, you got your green card. You file a naturalization, in 3 months, you're at your interview. So, I don't think it will matter. But I think if you're, a good person, you have nothing to worry about. If you have a criminal record, you should be worried, or you committed immigration fraud, you should be worried. But for the average person who's, a good person, or I don't think they have anything to worry about, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's that dark side,
Right,
and
right.
those people, have stuff to worry about. But for the average person, I don't think it's going to matter who the president is. And I know people are going to disagree with that, but we really
Yeah,
don't see
I'm pretty sure
radical
you're going to get a
changes.
lot of comments on that.
Yeah, we really don't see. I haven't seen any radical changes, with who the president. There's going to be a radical change if there's immigration reform,
Mm.
and we haven't really seen immigration reform since 1996, since IRA was enacted. There's been no serious immigration reform. There's been executive orders, 601A, or they'll come out with a TPS program, or now they came out with parole in place or DACA. Those are executive orders. But
Mm.
what we really need is immigration reform. That's what we really need.
Mm.
We need
But
to keep the good people.
absolutely, absolutely. But but Steve, Biden also campaigned on fixing the immigration system, and recently Kamala also said the same thing, that they are going to fix the immigration system. I know you don't want to get political, but still, I'm getting there. So I'm so sorry. I really have to
No
take
problem.
this. Thank you so much. But but some people say that things are moving slower than ever. So what do you have to say about that?
Say that
Have
one more
things
time. Some people say what you said.
So some people are saying that things are moving slower than ever. So do you really think that is the case?
I think that, some things are moving slower than ever. Yes.
Okay.
And right now it's the Biden administration. Um,
Mhm.
you know, at least, Trump put a ban on some countries. I'm not saying that I agree with the ban, but at least people knew
Mhm.
what their fate was. Under this
Right.
administration, you know, you're in this constant state of you don't know what's going to happen. But it goes back to what I said. If you're a bad person, it doesn't matter if you're
Mm.
under the Biden administration or if you're under the Trump administration. If your
Mhm.
case is going to be held, it's going to be held, whether it's the Trump or the Biden administration. But I don't really believe that the administration is going to hold that much of an impact. I really don't. We do need, in the state of New Jersey, there
Mhm.
are so many cases clogged in the immigration court that you're not going to get a date for 8 or 9 years.
Right.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So
So
it's
they need more people. They need more people.
absolutely. So you would say it's not a leadership issue, or I mean, there are deeper problems that any president would struggle to fix.
If they want to fix the immigration problem, they have to fix
Mhm.
asylum. There's too many fraudulent
Okay.
asylum applications. You know, what they could do is they could set up court right at the border,
Mm.
and they could adjudicate their asylum application right at the border. I mean, you know, there are people who need protection by way of asylum. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, the asylum application process is highly abused. And what that does is so many applications come in, and all of our resources have to go to that as opposed to helping somebody who wants to become a citizen or somebody who's filing for their mom or dad or their spouse overseas. We have to deal with an asylum application that is unmeritorious.
Mm.
So I mean, there's a lot of ways we could fix the immigration system, but that's that's one idea. But we need more resources. We need more people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much again for answering the question, Steve. I have got one question here from Praveen. He posted it on YouTube, but I don't think so. It's related to the topic, but still, I would like to read it in case you would like to give any answer. So he says, "Hi, I have my H-1B visa held up under 221G administrative processing since March 14, 2024. I haven't received any update till now. In situation, will it be possible for applying B1, B2 for me and my family? Would you like to answer this or?
I think it's possible, but I think it's unlikely. So a lot of people call us, hey, can I get a visitor visa? You
Mhm.
can apply for a visitor visa. I can apply to go get a Ferrari. That doesn't mean I'm going to get the financing to get it. So
Mhm.
applying for a B1, B2 is like, it's like, I call it immigration roulette. It's gambling. Nobody can say if you're going to get it. The immigration service is not a vending machine. You don't
Right.
put the money in and then just, get the candy. So back to the H-1B, that's a non-immigrant visa,
Mhm.
221G administrative processing. You could make an argument that, there is not a final adjudication. I've seen that go both ways. You've been waiting since March. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if a delay from March of 2024 until now is an unreasonable delay. You could try it. A lot of times my dad says, this is why we call it the practice of law. We're going to
Mhm.
practice. We don't know the answer. So,
Right.
you're going to, you can try. But to get a B1, B2, if they're not giving you your H1B, I don't think it's likely that they're going to give you a tourist visa, which is another non-immigrant visa. So
Right.
I think it's unlikely. That would be my answer.
Okay. Okay. But if he wants, he can go ahead, right?
You can try. Yeah,
He
you
can
can try.
try. He can
It's a
try.
free
Okay.
country. And I always tell people when I can't imagine applying for a visitor visa and desperately wanting to come to the United States. Make sure that you file your own application, because people will go to these fixers who file their visitor visa application, and there's a misrepresentation that's made. That misrepresentation will be material, meaning it could affect the outcome of the visa application, and then that person is going to permanently stain their record in perpetuity. So be
Mhm.
very careful what you put on your visa application. You're swearing under penalty of perjury, that everything is true and correct. Be very careful.
Okay. Okay. So, Praveen, I hope you have got your answer. Thank you so much for your question. In case you have a follow up, please, you can continue posting it. We are here for some time, maybe few more minutes. So, we'll try if we can take your question. Before I take another question, Steve, one more question. Again, a little political, but still, I would like to take it because I'm loving your answers. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So, Steve, some critics also argue that U.S. immigration system is intentionally slow to deter migrants. Do you think that is the reason
I
behind
don't.
it?
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I don't believe that. Um, I do believe that in some instances there is a delay that is purposeful for different motivations. So if the motivation is they want to investigate somebody,
Mhm.
there will be a purposeful delay. If the motivation is um, they have nothing against the person, they don't like a person, and they don't want to give them a benefit, and the only thing that they can do is just not adjudicate their case. I believe that sometimes that would be a motivation, but holistically, do I think that they're causing delays to deter people from coming here? No.
Mhm.
And as we both said earlier, I think that the United States, I've been all over the world. I do believe that this is the best country, in
Mhm.
the world. And I believe no matter how long the delays are, people are always going to want to come here because it's the best.
Right, right.
And I'm in New
Absolutely.
Jersey. I think New Jersey's the best too. I'm a New Jersey snob. I just want to put that out there.
US is the best, but what makes it best is New Jersey, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes, I love New Jersey.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much again, Steve, for answering the question. Let me quickly take Fawad's question also because he has posted this a long back. He says, "Hi, I'm from Pakistan. I have sent application to USCIS on 18th August and fees amount deducted on 27th August. I haven't received letter by post yet. My area GPO says there was no letter for you. Please advise, is there any other way to inquire USCIS about my file number?"
That's a situation that we've encountered too. A lot of times, the case might get rejected. I would say if you use the check, you can see if the USCIS cashed your check. If you use the credit card, it will come up on your credit card statement, USCIS, that you paid. But, if time rolls by and you don't get a receipt, you might have to assume that application was rejected and you might have to refile the case.
Okay.
But, that does happen. But if he filed in August and it's October, I would be concerned about that. I would look to see if it depends how he paid and what application. A lot of people file with the wrong fee. If you Google USCIS calculator, which is very confusing, I got to tell you, you can figure out what the correct fee is. If you don't have the correct fee, they're going to reject your case.
Right. Okay, so Fawad, I hope you've got the answer. Thank you so much for your question. In case you have a follow-up, you can please post it. And Steve, I know that it's been an hour, but if you allow, I would like to take one or two more questions, and then maybe we can wrap the session.
Of course, I'm having fun. I can't even believe an hour has passed. That's crazy.
I know, right? Great. So, okay. So now I would like to talk about budget cuts. So, how do budget cuts or the allocation of resources under different administrations impact the efficiency of immigration services? And have these been a factor in growing backlogs?
I mean, I don't really know. I would say that I'm not really qualified to answer that question. I don't really know about budget cuts, but I mean, just if there's less people that work at USCIS, there's going to be less people to adjudicate these applications. So I've been seeing that they're looking to hire more people. It's hard to get people too, and it's hard to train people. It's a long time to go through the training process. But budget cuts, I'm not really aware of any budget cuts.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, whoever comes next, whether the Democratic Party or the Republicans, whoever comes next, the next month. So, what do you think as an immigration attorney? What would you like to suggest? How can they improve, with these delays, and how can they make the process faster?
The best way to make the process faster is to do it right. So we have a lot of people, there's a lot of smart people out there, but a lot of people, they do it on their own and they mess up and they end up coming to us. So, and that slows you down, or they submit the wrong documents, or like the last gentleman who posed that question, he probably wrote the wrong fee. So, now he filed that in August, he already lost a couple months. Months and weeks matter. Sometimes it turns into years. So, the best thing that someone could do is to hire a competent immigration attorney and file the case correctly from the get-go. We see people all the time who do it on their own. They lose a year. And there's two types of people. My father always told me, it's not people who have money and people who don't have money. No, it's people who are willing to pay and people who are not willing to pay. There are people who don't have money who are willing to pay because they want to get it done right. So choose your attorney carefully, get it done right the first time, and that's how you'll save time.
Great. That's a great advice. On that note, I would quickly like to take a follow-up from Praveen. He has come back and he wants to know, in continuation to the H-1B visa, how long should I have to wait for the US visa officer takes any decision on my application, which is in 221G administrative processing? I wrote two follow-up emails till I can't see the second, like the other part. If we have a second,
I can understand what he's trying to say. This is Praveen. This is the legal conundrum. So if you go online, the information that you'll get from the U.S. Department of State is that 90 days you'll get an answer, or at least that's what we used to see. In 90 days, you'll get an answer. How long should you have to wait? I don't think that you should wait past 90 days. But I know that the government is going to have a different opinion. They're going to say, we've already decided your application. We gave you a decision. You're in administrative processing. And you're saying, hey, I'm in administrative processing. I don't have a decision. This is why a lot of times we file a lawsuit, because of this gray area, this gray area. I think after 6 months or after a year for sure, you're within your right to file, a mandamus and compel the U.S. Embassy to make a decision on your H-1B.
Okay. So Praveen, thank you so much for your question again. I hope you have got the answer. So now, Steve, I know we have to wrap the session up. So before I let you go, one last question. If you would like to tell us about a case where you sued the government, and you must have had a client who asked you to sue the government, or maybe you recommended that person, this is the best step we should take. And that you sue the government, and then things change for your client.
There's so many examples, but I'll give you an example. I have a client from Pakistan.
Okay.
And his wife married him. It's a 100% legitimate marriage. She filed for her stepchildren. The stepchildren came here, and they would not issue his visa. 5 years passed. They still would not issue his visa. And they came to me over the years. What can we do? We went to our congressman. We wrote emails. And I told them, file a mandamus. People get scared. They were scared. They didn't want to do it. They thought there was going to be a retaliation. Finally, they got to the end where I think, which is what most people who come to me, they don't care anymore. I just want a decision. I don't care if my case is denied. And he was, we filed the mandamus. We had to go back and forth. We had to litigate a couple things, but he was issued his visa. He landed in Philadelphia. He drove straight to my office in Cherry Hill, right when he got off the plane. And for me, that's why I do this. That's worth $1 billion to me. I'm able to change that person's life and their family's life. He's never going to forget me. And I have many clients like that. I'm personally Armenian. I have a lot of clients who are Syrian. A lot of Armenians, after the genocide, they moved to Syria. And then after the Syrian civil war, they went to Armenia. And a lot of those people, those Syrian Armenians, their cases are held at the U.S. Embassy in Yerevan, Armenia, for long periods of time. And at first, people, maybe they don't believe me, like, oh, is he really going to get our case unstuck? But after one or two, several people, a dozen cases, I've sued the U.S. Embassy in Yerevan, which I don't like to do because I love Armenia too. But we were able to bring those Syrian Armenian people, and I believe that their case is being held because of their nationality, their Syrian nationality. We do have to vet these people, but many people, I'm proud and humbled to say that their lives have been changed dramatically. That they come here, they reunify with their family, they're able to work, they're able to make money, they're able to say whatever they want, do whatever they want, have all the opportunities of this country. It's a life changer. And it makes me feel like $1 billion. You can't pay me to have that feeling.
I'm sure. Thank you so much for sharing that case study with us, Steve. And it was a pleasure and an honor having you on the show. Thank you so much for such insightful answers. And to all the people, Praveen is back and he says, okay, thanks. So Praveen, if you want to get in touch with, directly in touch with Steve, so you can give him a call. Here are his details. I would like to read them for you. You can give him a call on his number 856-755-1400. I would like to repeat it, 856-755-1400. You can also email him at info@voslaw.com, 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 and you can also visit his website, which is www.voslaw.com. If I would like to again Spell it for you, www.voslaw.com. Please note it down. And yes, you can directly get in touch with Steve through these details. And Steve, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I really enjoy doing these shows. Thank you so much for your insightful answers. And maybe, we can have you again back with a new topic and with a new episode.
Thanks to you. Thank you again. Sincerely, I'm humbled, and I would love to come back. Thank you so much. I had a blast. Thank you so much.
It was a blockbuster debut then, right?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much again, thanks, Steve. And guys, that's a wrap for our conversation for today. A big thank you again to Steve for shedding light on the legal side of immigration delays and helping us navigate such complex topic. It's always eye-opening to dive into the legal and political aspects of something that affects so many lives. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. And we hope you found this insightful as we did. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out and drop them in the comments. We have our experts who will be replying to your comments, or maybe we can take those questions in our next episode with Steve. So until next time, I'm Rajni Bharara signing off. You guys take care and don't forget to subscribe to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Bye for now.